Shalom Aleichem. Hope everyone had a wonderful, wonderful week. This week in Eretz Yisrael, we learn Parshas Balak. In Chutz La'aretz, we learn Parshas Chukas. I wanted to share an idea that emanates from Parshas Balak, but it's much, much broader than that. An idea that is developed by Rav Asher Weiss. He suggests that sometimes, while we look at the Torah, we find the mitzvahs in the Torah itself, the 613 mitzvahs, but is there a broader, if you will, demand, or Ratzon Hashem that permeates far well above and beyond the actual 613 mitzvahs, and it's certainly the case. And he develops the idea with an understanding of the mitzvah of Tsar Balei Chaim. The Gemara Bava Metzia, in a number of places, tells us that Tsar Balei Chaim is a din d'oraisa. But if you search for the source, where does the Torah explicitly tell us that you're not allowed to cause and inflict pain and suffering on animals? So you're not going to find that explicitly in the Chumash. And the Rishonim developed many, many different approaches as to how we know that Tsar Balei Chaim is d'oraisa. For example, Rashi suggests it's based on the mitzvah of prika. If you have a donkey that is overladen with its bundle, you have to go ahead. There's a mitzvah saseh to unload it. Why? The answer is because of Tsar Balei Chaim d'oraisa. There's a mitzvah, says the Ravid, of lo saksom shor b'disho. You're not allowed to muzzle an animal while it's working. Why not? You have to let it eat. Why? The answer is Pashup Shat Tsar Balei Chaim d'oraisa. Some suggest in this week's parasha, when Bilam is castigated, is criticized by the Malach, why are you hitting the donkey? Why are you hitting the ason? So and inflicting pain on the ason. After all, the ason saw the Malach, the Bilam did not. But once again, the Gemara, this Rishonim develop and say, you know why? Because Tsar Balei Chaim, that's a source. This week's parsha is a source for Tsar Balei Chaim d'oraisa. Yet, the Torah never explicitly tells us a pasuk that says you're not allowed to inflict pain. It has a din of prika, it has a din of lo sachson, it has the story of Bilam and his donkey, but it never has an explicit reference. Yet, Rav Asher explains, yeah, of course, Tsar Balei Chaim d'oraisa, because if you glean a little bit, if you look at these dinim, and you understand what is the Torah legislating, so of course, yes, the reason for these halachos is because of Tsar Balei Chaim, and all of a sudden, not because of an explicit source, but reading not just the lines, but in between the lines, teaches us that yes, indeed, Tsar Balei Chaim d'oraisa. And you find this in many, many different areas. And I would posit to you, a lot of times we'll be asked a question about the matter of Shabbos. And the question will come up, is it mutter, is it usher? And the answer might be, do we have to wear Shabbos clothing? Can we play ball on Shabbos? The answer to that question might often be, well, it's not really usher, but it's just not Shabbostic. Or, for example, you get questions in Dinei Mamonos, in financial matters. Well, technically speaking, maybe it's okay, but it's probably not the moral thing to do. So more often than not, if you come to the conclusion that it's not Shabbostic, or that it's not the moral thing to do, not the right thing to do, so what you're really saying is it's not the Ratzon HaTorah, it's not the Ratzon Hashem. And once it's not the Ratzon Hashem, I would posit to you, it's not just that it's not Shabbostic. Sometimes we have psukim that develop these broader concepts. Deracheha darchei noam influences the halacha. Shabbos, on Shabbos being different fundamentally than the other days of the week, so therefore no ball. That's not just... Shabbos is different than Sheishas Me'amaseh. That makes Shabbos fundamentally different. All of a sudden, not Shabbostic. Dressing for Shabbos is a din, is the Ratzon HaTorah, is the Ratzon of Chazal. Being honest in business. V'asisa hayashav hatov. Yeah, the Torah is sending us a message. This is my Ratzon. V'asisa hayashav hatov, to be immoral, unethical. You've satisfied the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law. No. The spirit of the law is also the Ratzon Hashem, and therefore, perhaps one could suggest here these are usher. It's not Shabbostic, not just immoral, but it's against halacha, because that's the Ratzon HaTorah. So when we look at dinim and when we look at the Torah, we should look at it not just with a technical eye to the minutia of the halacha, but to get a sense of what we think, based on simple logic, based on the principles of Torah. What's the Ratzon Hashem? What does Hashem want to do for me to do in this situation? Is he sanctioning? Is it okay to inflict pain and suffering on animals? Certainly not. So that vision of Ratzon Torah as a guiding light in our behavior is certainly very, very powerful, very, very meaningful, something to always be thinking about. Have a wonderful Shabbos Kodesh.